US actually announcing at that speech that they would contribute $3 billion to a fund aimed at helping developing economies deal with climate change and find solutions to carbon-free emissions in their own countries. But he also called on the students, saying that it's not just up to governments to push for climate change. It's the next generation, the people who will inherit the future, if you like. And he got a huge round of applause for that. And certainly climate change has been on the agenda here, almost despite the best efforts of the host country, Australia. The Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, is not known for his progressive thoughts about climate change. There were big announcements in Beijing at the APEC meeting between the US and China, the two key emitters of carbon in the world, who have both agreed to aggressive targets. Australia, by contrast, has very modest carbon emission targets. So climate change forcing its way onto the agenda here, really whether the Australian Prime Minister likes it or not.
Let's get back to the other story, and that is Vladimir Putin is there, but he exactly hasn't been welcomed warmly. Even the local media putting him on the cover in a kind of a derogatory way, and Abbott criticizing him recently. So is he being somewhat dissed at this conference?
Well, I think he's being isolated, particularly by Western leaders, following those reports of more Russian troops going across the border into the eastern region of Ukraine, where the Russian-backed rebels are, or certainly the rebels who support Russia, are also heavy weaponry going in there as well. So against those reports, Vladimir Putin flying here to Brisbane. He hasn't been, certainly, he's been a chilly, I think the best way, a chilly reception for Vladimir Putin. As you say, the Australian Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, has confronted him in APEC in Beijing just a couple of days ago about the position both on what's happening in Ukraine and also about the ongoing investigation into MH17. Abbott quite clearly putting the blame for the shooting down of that plane at Russian equipment used by Russian-backed rebels. So the British Prime Minister also saying that the Russian president needed to change course on Ukraine, otherwise relations with both Great Britain, also with the European Union. He did mention Australia as well, saying that they would be very different if there wasn't a backtrack or a change of heart by the Russian president. He's given no indication that's going to happen, but certainly he is not being warmly welcomed by any stretch of the imagination here. There was a private leaders meeting a few hours ago at the Parliament building. We don't know what was said at that. The Australian host encouraging candid conversation between the 19 country leaders and the European Union. We don't know what was said there, but certainly there are a lot of leaders here who do want to have a candid conversation with Vladimir Putin about Russia's involvement, reported or not,